Hello, this is Dr. Young, and I'm going to go over your Unit 1 assignments. So for your Unit 1 assignments, you're going to have post a bio, actually that's by tonight. You have a discussion post on the 2nd, which is Friday, and you have a project which is due on Tuesday. So make sure to go over your readings, go over the lectures here. You have 1, 2, 3 lectures. So make sure to review those, read the chapters. Here are our outcomes are right here. Our learning objectives. We're going to talk about models, staffing models, and the components of staffing systems, HR. We're going to get into HR planning a little bit and laws and regulations. So make sure to read those. Post your bio, which you're probably used to by now. There's a lot of reading with this class, and there's a lot of writing. Now, the great thing about the discussion is pretty concise. It's pretty specific about what the length. For example, here is your initial post. You want to use the library or credible sources. I do pay attention to that, especially at the graduate level. Don't just use any old site. Make sure it's credible. I do deduct points for, Wikipedia or eHow or any kind of site that could be updated by anybody. You don't want to use those kinds of sites. Okay, for the purposes of this class, you will be posting, if you have more than, if there's more than 3 people in the class, you have to respond to 2 classmates, and I will post a response to your initial post. So you'll need to you'll respond to me, and then normally 2 other classmates. In this case, if there's a case where there's 2 students or fewer, then you can only respond to 1, and I understand that, obviously. So there's just one other person to respond to, then just respond to that one person. These are very small classes right now. They will expected to grow, I'm sure, later, but at this point it's kind of small. Probably it'll be a lot different than what you're used to being in a class with, maybe 20 people, 15, 10, something like that in your undergraduate program. So you have to post your responses by the last day of that week. There's also a link here talking about doing discussions right. You can use that as a guideline. It helps you kind of think it helps you offer a substantive response. Substance is more important than word count. That's kind of the thing I get from this document. So take a look at that, save it, refer back to it as needed. So, and I'm going to see about getting you a rubric, a copy of the rubric for that. Actually, I don't even have to do that. I'm just going to go and show you what the grading rubric looks like for these discussions. And they're always the same rubric for every discussion in the class. So I don't have anything to grade yet. I'm just looking for the grading rubric for you. Let me see. There's the assessment. Yeah, here it is. It's built into the class. So the grading rubric this is kind of a off, but yeah, here's the rubric. You get 3 sections here and an overall score. And each section's worth, I believe it's, actually, I don't know if it's 40, it's 80 points. I'm trying to remember which. It's 20, 20, and 40. So the first part of the content is 40, the participation is 20, and all the formatting and the using sources and all that is 20. So I'm going to post this in the announcement board to give you, just so you can see what it looks like easier before you submit your work. So, and I'll get to that later. I'll probably post it tomorrow. I'm going to go back to the unit. And there's no grades yet, so that was the grade book. It just had the names. So I would never show you a grade book that had grades in it. So, but I wanted just to show you. All of the assignments have rubrics with them. And so I will post this actually directly. I will post the rubric directly on the discussion board so you can see it while you're posting. Okay, so now moving back to that quickly, that discussion is going to address staffing strategies and the decisions and laws. And that's in your book, and that's also, in your lecture. So make sure to review that lecture. And then your Unit 1 project is the lectures that supports that is human resource planning. And then make sure to read that chapter. So in this situation here, you're developing a hypothetical human resource department. And you're just going to, you can use, doesn't matter what kind of company. You can create a new company or one that already exists. The only requirement is that it has to operate internationally. You can be as creative as you want regarding content, style, form, or the format which is submitted. In that sense, actually the format doesn't matter. I don't know what, I need to remove that. But the style or the form, as far as what kind of company and what kind of, you're kind of being creative but also realistic, if that makes any sense. So let's say you choose a company, and you can just choose the one you work for. You might already have all of this answered because you work there. You know what their HR department makeup and structure is pretty much, and you know where they stand and where they're placed in the organization. And then you might be able to find out easily the mission statement for the HR department if they have one. Or you might have to research a company and come up with this information. Or you might have to talk to someone you know about a company and see if they can find out this information and write about their organization. These are the options that you have. But you want to make sure to address these very thoroughly. With the papers, they're usually, they're more points. So you want to make sure that you're not, it gives you a guideline down here, for example, 3 to 4 page paper. And when it gives you a range, I would go on I'd probably go on the higher side of that, but it is substance, not word count that I'm looking at. So if you can tell me what I want to know in a little bit lower than 4 pages, fine. I have no problem with that. But you better be, make sure that you're very thorough in what you're telling me, because usually I like detail. So, but you can go over this, but don't go a whole lot over it. Don't go crazy and give me an 8-page paper or anything like that. Stay on topic, stay focused, be efficient. Let's see. APA style is what we use in this class, the whole way. And make sure to use I'm going to go ahead and go to this site because I think it's a good site. I used it when I was in my master's programs and my doctorate, so you probably are familiar with it. But the Owl of Purdue is a great site for APA format. I do look at this carefully. At the graduate level, you should be very familiar with APA and be able to write in proper APA format. So I do look at this. So make sure that you're taking the time to edit these papers carefully. Where's the... Did I lose it? Here's APA guide. Okay, there it is. Went all over the place. There we go. There's sample, you know, in this site there's sample paper right here. There's a sample paper. Excuse me. There's a presentation about it. There's examples, there's templates. I mean, you can find everything regarding APA right here. So, if you have any questions or concerns, let me know. I'll be happy to... Oh, almost forgot the knowledge check. There's a knowledge check on every unit. It's like a little test. It's a quiz. And basically it tests your understanding of the lecture content. I will tell you these are taken from the lecture. So if you're not reviewing, or looking at the lectures, it's a good chance you're going to miss something. So make sure to read the lectures. And I'm sorry, and the text, because some of them are from the text. I think it's kind of randomized. So I know I wrote all the test questions, but as far as how they were applied and, you know, how they're delivered and randomly, I think I'm pretty sure that's the case, because that's on, you know, that's once I submit all the materials, they do it, you know, program them in. So I'm not sure how they're programmed in or whatever, but just make sure to read your lectures and your text. All right, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. When you're doing discussions, please post your discussion post directly on the discussion board. Don't attach a document for those. And the same thing goes with well, with the other, you just have to attach a file. So the Brightspace, there's some different considerations that I used to have to talk about that I really don't now. I don't have to as much now. But just with the discussions, please do not post attachments, because it just makes it harder to grade. It takes more time, and I prefer that. Prefer you just to post all of your text right on the board. Anything else? I do look at Turnitin scores. Please do not plagiarize. Please do not use words from the same wording from your sources. If you're going to use something from your source, you need to paraphrase it. I don't mind if you use quotes sparingly, but don't give me large passages of quotes here and in every paragraph or nothing, because that's not, you know, your own writing. And quotes are only to emphasize points, really just to kind of supplement what your position is or argument or whatever. Not to just, you know, put them in paper just to, you know, you don't want to incorporate that in all of your paragraphs, because it's just not, then it won't be enough of your own work. It'll be basically someone else's words, and that's definitely going to affect your grade, so don't do that. Again, we're at the graduate level now. You should know this, and you probably do, and it might seem redundant, but I have to say it. I have to say it because it happens, and I teach at other graduate schools, and it still happens. So most of the time it doesn't, but anyway, that is all for Unit 1. If you have any questions or concerns, I know I already talked about it on the introduction video that I made, to call me, and that still stands, and it will stand the entire term. As far as one thing I wanted to talk about, let me get it here. If that's in there or not. Here we go. I'm going to go to the syllabus. Late work. I take late work, but the limitations on that are you have to submit it before, you have to submit it by 7 days after the due date. You cannot submit work later than 7 days after the due date. Also, every day it's late, it's 5% off, up to 25%. So if you submit something that's 5 days late, it'll get a 25% penalty. But day 6 and day 6 and day 7, you will still have the 25%. So that's the maximum you can get. I will not accept work 7 days after the due date for any reason, unless you have a major tragedy happen. But I'll need documentation of that. But otherwise, or a major illness, and I'll need documentation or something. Otherwise, I will not take it. So you need to make sure you've got enough time built in, because it moves so fast that if you miss 1 week, it's going to affect your final grade for definitely. I mean, this is not one of those classes that there's a lot of room for messing up and just like blowing an assignment completely or getting a 0, because it's just 4 weeks. So just make sure to get your work in and put in the time for the class. And as things come up, I'll address them in these videos. And if you see anything or have any issues in the class, just let me know and we'll work it out. We'll get it taken care of. Make sure that your computer access is, you've got a plan B, maybe a plan C, because if you have a computer problem and you can't submit on time, I can't accept that as an excuse, since this is an online class. So make sure that you are ready to start class and that you have another way of accessing your course if you have to. The great thing is these things, this Pulse app that you can download, and I love it. I think it's wonderful. It's really easy to get to your discussions with it. I use it. I think it's so, user-friendly and easy to get around in. So if you have a smartphone, you might want to download that, just, as a way to, let's say your computer doesn't want to come up, you can at least post, you're on your discussion board. So that's really all. I know I've said that already, didn't I? But if you have any questions, let me know, and I look forward to a great term. Thank you.